welcome back to Book Stage and Screen. You're here with Samantha and Gordon, and we have the very talented Jen Piper here, who we've had here before, so
Hello.
welcome back to the
A
studio.
repeat offender.
Thank you.
Yeah, we'd like to call you repeat offenders.
Second time in.
And Belinda Campbell, their artistic director at WIT Inc.
Hello, thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks for coming in. We did say, and Gordon said, that I shouldn't say you're our favourite local theatre club, because the others won't come in then, but friend of the show.
They were probably
keeps everybody
drinking coffee. What?
How very dare they?
We were.
That is it.
Well, fortunately, there aren't a glut of professional theatre companies in the West.
not.
There's lots and lots of community theatre out this way, but not a hell of a lot of professional theatre. So we're probably safe.
The profesh.
I think we could
Yeah.
go into a bare knuckle fist fight and come out okay.
Yeah, probably.
Gordon seems excited by that, so we won't go into that.
It's an interesting show. Interesting angles.
We can do a Facebook live stream,
Tickets.
get this thing happening. Now, we brought you in today because we went to the launch of your season back in December, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yes, it was either in December or it was a week ago.
Okay.
Definitely one of those two things.
All right. Well,
Yep.
that narrows it down.
One of those things happened.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
it was very exciting, the shows that you talked about. So go through with us what you've got on this year, what you're working towards.
So we have a season of works by women this year, which is very exciting. Our first show is a children's, it's an all ages show really.
Yeah, it's too funny to be just for kids.
Which is an environmental superheroes show.
Oh, yeah.
So you've got Captain Eco and the Green Defender fighting to save the planet from waste. And that's really fun. That's one that I'm writing. And I can't wait for that to be on. That's in July.
We did a little sneak preview for Seddon Festival last
my
weekend.
God,
Yeah.
Yes.
And this is that thing, days blurring together. Yeah, who knows?
Or was it
Oh,
December?
it might have been. Who knows? Who are you people and what are you doing in my lounge room? And it's funny the way cartoons like Adventure Time and Futurama are funny, where there's that bit of it that's bright and colourful that kids love and are drawn to and want to see more of. And then every so often you get to drop a joke that kind of sails straight past the kids.
Yeah.
And you get to see the parents kind of
I think you have to
having a
do it
little giggle
nowadays.
and-
Giggling away.
You have to do something for the parents because
Yeah.
we've all been to plenty of pantomimes. Plenty of this.
I'm really
Yeah.
passionate about not talking down to kids as well.
Yeah.
I think you want to have stuff that they're going to get, obviously, but you want to aim high as well. And if they feel the parents enjoying it, I think they enjoy it more as well themselves.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nobody likes being spoken down to.
No,
matter
and
how
kids are
tiny they
fairly savvy.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're like this. Next.
Yeah.
You get the wriggles and you're like this. Ooh. But that sounds good.
Yeah, so
Hero's
that's-
Guide to Saving the Planet. So that's during the school holidays, isn't it? Perfect.
Yes.
From
Yeah.
start to finish.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. 1st to the 15th of July. And we're doing 2 shows a day on show days for that. So it's every Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday and Sunday during those July school holidays. There's a 10 o'clock and a 1 o'clock,
Yeah, that
which
sounds
means
right.
you can bring even little tinsy ones
Yeah,
and
yeah.
avoid nap time,
Yes.
which I'm told is a big deal.
Oh, yeah, it's all. The whole day is revolved around that
I know
one.
I get cranky if my nap's interrupted.
Yes.
Yeah. That's mainly for the actors.
circle of
It's not for the small children. Can't interrupt the actor's nap time.
So seeing you're writing or you've written
I've written it, but
You've written
it was still ironing out
Evolving.
the
And so where did this idea come from?
Oh, where did it come from? I've been starting writing stuff for children only in last few years, and I did one last year, Fairy Tale News, which I've had published now,
Yeah.
and that was so much fun, and that really evolved in the performance time as well. So I think it was after that I wanted to write something else, and then just becoming really environmentally conscious lately and thinking about our footprint and what we can each do. Every person can do to kind of make a difference, and thought, wouldn't it be cool if that was in a show for kids, because that's where we need to start talking, and then they can educate their parents as well.
Yeah.
And then superheroes. Doesn't everyone love superheroes?
Let's be honest here. You do love cartoons.
I do love cartoons. Yeah, I watch a lot of cartoons for a grown woman. Yes. Yeah. So I did want it to be really. I wanted it to have that fun, silliness as well. I love it. That's why I like programs like Adventure Time. They have their own language, and sometimes it makes sense, and sometimes it makes absolutely no sense. But that's why it's so exciting and fun.
I have is that the one where sometimes I sit with the kids and think,
It's
what
bonkers.
are they smoking
Yeah.
in that writer's room?
Yeah.
But that's why
going on?
theatre is good for this type of idea, because like cartoons can do crazy stuff and everyone says, yeah, it's a cartoon. But if you made it live action, filmed it sort of dies. But theatre, because the people are there for whatever reason, I don't know, then it works. It's everyone's happy. And
I think there's something about the immediacy of the human connection and the fact that in theatre you're not passively watching because you're feeding back to the people on stage. So you form a kind of relationship. I think that helps the suspension of disbelief. So if you're doing Macbeth and somebody dies horribly on stage and you see them breathe, you deal with it. If it happened in a film, everyone would lose it laughing. So I think there's something quite special about that suspension of disbelief in theatre that I do think lends itself really well to the kind of heightened reality of cartoon superhero storytelling.
It sounds great. And you guys have experience with children because you have every
kidnapped
week.
children.
Yeah, sorry, we should clarify.
You
A
have
basement
experience
full
with
of children.
I didn't realise we were going to talk about that today.
This is all good.
And you'll be meeting the police on the way. No, you don't kidnap children. You actually have fun with them in a
Drama group. Yeah, we
Yes.
have a WIT Kids drama program, which we started last year. And it went just so well. We had to add an extra day of classes. So I teach 5 to 12-year-olds, 2 classes a day, on Monday, Tuesday and Wednesdays. And this year they're at the Braybrook Community Hub on Monday and Tuesday, and the Maribyrnong Community Centre on a Wednesday. And we just have lots of fun. I teach them drama games. We do some improvisations and some, and we do a performance in term 3, which we did last year. We did bees. A bee performance, which I wrote for them, and it was hilarious.
You've not lived until you've seen 30 primary age children dressed as bumblebees running around singing and performing a choreographed dance. I can vouch for that. But as I kind of get to pop in occasionally and say hi to parents at the start of term or come and help out if we've got a bigger class, and because I don't see the kids every week, last year I was really struck each time I went by the change in all of them. The kind of hyperactive kids learn to breathe and pay attention, and there's a couple of really shy kids who could barely look up from the ground, one who couldn't even walk in the room.
Yeah, one was so painfully shy. Her mum, we say no parents in the class because it's not, we're not doing a performance, we're just working, so we don't have an audience. But I just had to let the mum come in because she would not come in the room without her mum. And then in a couple of weeks, we got to sort of managing to deposit child and quickly exit the room. And she still sort of sat there and wouldn't engage. And now this year she's come back and she gets up there and she's chatting to everyone and she's doing everything. And you wouldn't know. She's like a different child.
Yeah.
So, I often talk about that. I feel like a superhero when we're doing that. That's such a massive change. It makes you feel really good.
Well, we have talked before about theatre for children in terms of drama classes. For the reality is probably maybe half a dozen might go on and do something in a performance in their lives. But for the rest of them, the confidence or just the ability to stand in front of an audience or even if they don't have to say anything, just that ability where they don't go, you know, you've instilled with them that skill from an early age. I think it's just great.
So much that kids get out of drama class, and it's not just about acting, and it's not even just about confidence and standing up in front of group, though that is a really important skill to learn, I think. But it's to do with cooperation, empathy.
Yeah.
There's actually this massive list, which I probably can't now remember anything else from.
But there is an article that Belinda wrote for Mama Mag last year that's available on our blog at wit.com.au/news.
Thank you.
Amazing.
That's why we brought you.
Yeah.
But yeah, empathy. I mean,
Yeah.
theatre and so drama classes are all about empathy and communication. Can you imagine for a second if every CEO had empathy? Come on.
Fairly
now.
different world.
Yeah, leave alone politicians.
Yes.
It's kind of rad. It is.
So
a
George Brandis
superpower.
probably didn't do acting class as a little boy. Little Georgie Brandis.
Yeah, I think we can safely assume.
If I had to bet money on it, I would say George probably hasn't. George, if you're listening, we're happy to help you out.
Friend of the show, George Brandis. Avid listener, I should mention.
Great friend of the arts, George Brandis.
Well, he was in charge of arts at one stage, wasn't he?
He
Put
was in
himself
charge.
of funding. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's go on to
Moving
nice.
right along.
We've got so our second performance for WIT.
Scandal in the
Yes.
Weimar.
Now let's talk about that.
Speaking of politics, A Scandal in the Weimar. It's an adaptation of a Sherlock Holmes story, one of the short stories called A Scandal in Bohemia. But this story, it's a buddy adventure story. It's still a scandal. Huge scandal.
Good.
And look, it's in roughly the same region, Bohemia, the Weimar.
So why
it's all
the
German.
change?
Because in this story, Lady Sherlock Holmes and Dr. Jean Watson are fronting up against Nazis.
Dun, dun, dun!
So somebody in WIT, it may or may not be me,
It's her.
has
Spoiler alert, it's her.
Didn't even miss a beat.
has
I hope that wasn't the twist at the end.
No.
has a slight mania when it comes to the rise of fascism, or the re-rise of fascism. I've been ranting about it for 3 or 4 years. So started writing this story.
So someone said, for God's sake,
Yeah,
go and write a
just
story
turn
about
it into a play. And I've wanted to be Sherlock Holmes since I was about 8, so it's just natural.
Yes.
It's elementary, you might say.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
Terrible. I know.
So I got in touch with Claire Bowen, who is another WIT. She wasn't at the time, but I've known her for years, and said, hey, do you want to help me write a play about a woman, Sherlock Holmes, dealing with fascists in 1939? And she is a modern European historian. So she wrote back something like Hell's Yes. And we went from there. And kind of each time something happens in global politics, we look at each other or ring each other and say, oh, I'm torn. Do I want my play to stay relevant, or do I want the world to get better? And each time we really cross our fingers and hope that our play becomes irrelevant, and it hasn't yet.
No.
So this look, it's a rollicking great show, as
Yep.
as all stories about fascism and genocide are.
Yes.
We've got some Mitford sisters in there, so we've got a bit of historical pedigree, and yeah, it's all about having a look at historical global fascism and what's happening now, which is far too easy.
Yeah.
It's about how comfortably we talk about atrocities like the German Holocaust, the Jewish Holocaust, but how uncomfortable we are about talking about this country's own history of genocide. It looks at things like, if Dr. Watson was a woman and it was the 30s and she was married, could she go to Berlin from London with her friend on an adventure, or is that a thing? Are women allowed to have adventures? Do we get to do stuff in our own right?
Yeah.
So lots of really light-hearted topics.
Yep.
Is there a fight between Sherlock Holmes and Hitler at the end of this? A fist
Well,
fight?
Hitler does not appear in this story
Ah.
because Hitler is spoken about. But yeah, the great thing about doing a season of works by women where all of your characters are women is that you get to have anti-heroes who are women, you get to have villains who are women, you get to present female characters in the myriad of shapes and opinions that they have in real life, because not all women are wives or daughters or villains. Some of us have facets. It's kind of exciting.
All do.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
So,
okay, well,
but
that
then
sounds
I
interesting.
can guarantee punching Nazis.
Oh, okay.
It
Yeah.
is
Good,
actually
good, good.
it's what huge massive themes, but it is actually going to be a really fun show.
Yeah.
It's a bit of a cabaret. It's going to be an interesting night for everyone. Quite immersive. All of our shows this year are quite immersive shows for the
Yeah.
audience. So
And are they all playing at the same art
Yes.
space?
Yeah,
Okay. Yeah,
City of
beautiful.
Maribyrnong have welcomed us back as artists in residence at Bluestone Church
lovely.
Art Space.
Which,
is
if you
pretty
haven't
nice.
been,
Oh, it's
is a
just
fantastic
beautiful.
venue.
Yeah.
And looks different each time we set up for a new show.
Great.
So really, people should be subscribing so they can get the full experience
Yeah.
of, each incarnation of the space.
How do people subscribe if they want to be a subscriber?
I'm so glad you asked.
Well, you've got a gun pointed at this.
And there's a
thought I
flashing
should.
light saying, ask me.
Talking about
Ask
villains.
me about subscription.
They can visit us online at witinc.com.au, which is witinc.com.au, and follow the links.
And that gives you...
They can buy tickets to any one of those shows. This year, we decided not to have a full price and a concession price ticket. We're just doing everything at concession prices.
Way.
So
fantastic.
all tickets are $25, or
God,
you can
that's
get a
reasonable.
yeah, that's a good night out. Or you can get a subscription and save money on your tickets, and you get other fun things as well, such as cheap booze.
excellent.
wow.
Yeah,
Talking
yeah.
to creatives.
You get a discount on wine and beer if you're
Oh,
a
because you
subscriber.
have... Don't you have some...
Yeah, we've got awesome support
Yeah.
from
Yes.
Two sponsors.
Naked Wines through Jen Pfeiffer's Rocket Like a Redhead,
Right.
and Two Birds Brewery. So
Oh, yes. Gorgeous one in Spotswood.
Same quite likes that
I
brewery.
don't like beer, but I like it.
It's-
I
Likes the
love
brewery.
I love the atmosphere of it, and I
Yeah.
love the
The window.
aesthetic of it.
yeah.
I mean, I
yeah.
don't want to drink it. It looks like
But-
fantastic beer, but it's not for me. But
It's
I
great
just
beer.
love
But yeah,
going
the-
in and looking at it, how they make it.
The space is wonderful.
Yeah.
We had a Meet the Wits event recently at the Nest, and it was just really nice to.
Nice nibblies there too. Doesn't always all have to
very
be
good.
alcohol.
Yeah, they've got a beautiful kitchen there too.
Yeah.
Now we've also got one more production. Tell us about that one.
Outside In, yes. We just found out it's going to be a Victorian premiere, which is super duper exciting. Thank you, Fanfare. And this amazing play is by Hilary Beaton, and it's set in a women's prison.
Oh,
And it is really full on. It's going to be funny. It's going to be heartbreakingly sad. And it's just such a beautifully written script about women and relationships. It's you've just got to see it. I don't think I can explain it any other way, but it's going to be a really awesome production. I'm really excited, particularly by the team we're going to have behind it.
Yeah.
So that's in October.
Yes.
20th of October, 4th of November.
So is she one of the writer? Is she one of your group? Or
No, she's a
So-
really established playwright. She's
Right.
based in New Zealand. She has been based in Australia.
yeah.
The script was written in 1984.
I think,
Oh,
yeah.
right.
And it's
Because-
on the back of it, on the back of the play. I love this because my copy is a 1984 copy, and it says her writing came out of a rising feminist conscience and a desire to create roles for women. We're like,
That's your mantra.
yeah, great.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
So
especially
it's
in
good
those
to know that
days,
we've
that
come
would have
so
been,
far in the
Changed
last
the
30-something
industry.
years.
Yeah, correct.
But yeah, it's got all of the stuff that that I think Well, the television we see at the moment that it's set in women's prisons, Orange is the New Black and Wentworth and Prisoner, as was. I enjoyed Prisoner. I'm happy to admit that. That amazing thing that happens when you remove most of the male characters from a situation that is inherently quite brutal, and you get to see all of those same stories that we're used to seeing. But instead of it being Oz and we're watching men in prison, it's Orange is the New Black and we're watching women in prison. The same things are happening. There's still human relationships. There's still people figuring stuff out. It's still, funny and heartbreaking and horrific and awesome and exciting and hopeful and all of those things that are the reason why we tell stories.
And so how did you find this play?
Was it on your mum's bookshelf or something?
No, I found it in a second-hand bookshop.
Oh, right.
And I'd read it
In New Zealand? Because you are
Kismet.
you
I
are
think
New
it
Zealand.
was. Yeah, I am actually New Zealand. I don't know how I fit in the building actually, but I am New Zealand. Sorry, New Zealand.
Taking ownership of it.
WIT Incorporated would like to apologise to the great nation of New Zealand for claiming you as our own.
I found it, came across it, and then it did make its way to my mum's bookshelf at one time, and I reclaimed it recently and went, geez, this is a play for us to do. This is I knew I'd bought this play for a reason. Reread it
And every one of us who has read it has kind of gotten about half a heartbeat into it and said, yep, this is a thing. This really is a thing.
And the amazing thing, because you've got the female writer and all female cast, and she's done her research for this. She's worked in women's correctional facilities as well, so she has such a wealth of knowledge of those situations. It's so well written with such understanding that every character, when we're talking about which character would you want to play, you just can't choose, because they're all amazing characters. They all have a journey. They all have a purpose to being there. They all have wants, and you can feel that as you're reading it. So I can't wait to see it on stage.
And that was kind of the point of this season of Works by Women, is that so often the characters that we get to play with exist to further somebody else's plot or build somebody else's character.
Quirky girl in a cafe.
Frightening mother.
Sexy secretary. Yeah, it's pretty dismal.
And look, WIT kind of exists because we got a little bit over Belinda being told she was allowed to be quirky and me being frightening. I realise my laryngitis voice adds to the fear. It's great.
They might be parts of us, but they're not the only parts of us, and we can do other things.
Multifaceted.
Well, we've had that discussion before where we've come out and said half those roles could have been played by women. It wouldn't have mattered. Like, it honestly wouldn't have mattered.
Yeah.
And not because it's not a well-written part. It's just because it didn't matter.
Yeah.
So it's interesting that... and also, when we've gone to readings, cold readings, or what was the other one? Crash Test, and there's also another one. There would be oodles of actresses, and they'd get one or two lines, and maybe half a dozen male actors would turn up, and they'd be reading 3 or 4 times, and seeing these actresses, what? Or they'd be reading a male part, or and you're thinking, this is stupid.
And you're right. So often. Roles written for men are men because we're conditioned to think of male as neutral. So you write a human and we default to it being male. So often roles that are written for men could easily be women. We've changed, in Scandal in the Weimar, we've changed nothing about Sherlock Holmes' character at all.
Yeah.
Although... Conan Doyle wasn't exactly consistent in his writing of the character, but anyway, and it's still the worst thing that happens is that it's a bit uncomfortable reading about female anti-heroes. We don't really like a female hero who doesn't have great compassion, so it feels a bit uncomfortable reading it back, but it's the same character.
Yeah.
It's kind of wild.
Oh, well, good work for bringing it to the forefront and, creating opportunities for
Yeah.
female characters to be seen and female actresses to get some good meaty roles.
We're also, this year, we've said that it's not just about carving out roles for ourselves, it's about diversity in casting as well.
Yeah.
Because, feminism's not feminism unless it's intersectional. So in our casting, we are looking at women, people who identify as women, people who don't identify as anything much, but the world generally sees them as women. Different socioeconomic backgrounds, different cultural, linguistic backgrounds, all the quilt bags, everyone. Because just as storytelling is boring if it's all middle-class, middle-aged white men, it's pretty boring if it's all middle-class white women as well.
Yeah.
So,
well, it's good to represent what we are,
yeah,
which is diverse.
Yeah, exactly.
So, well, good work for doing that. We look forward to, we have to get you in at some point to talk about one of them.
Yes.
Which one do you reckon will be the best one? Let's
be
commit right
quiet.
Cannot do that. Obviously, the first one's the best one until we're on to the second one, and then that's the best one. And then after that, the third
We're going to
one
finish off the year with the best one.
Yeah,
now.
right.
Okay.
Great.
Yeah.
All right. Well, something to look
that's
forward to.
solved.
You have to come and see all of them, and then you can tell us which you think
well.
is the best one.
So
There you go.
we can, any of the listeners who watch all three can ring up at the end of the year and give their votes.
Yes.
Cool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
And they
Let's-
can win a
have a
prize.
vote off.
Yeah.
And do we have a top dog yet for Outside In? Is somebody bags top dog? Is there a top dog? You remember Prisoner?
Yes, there is a character in Outside In called Boss.
Boss.
Yeah.
There has to be. In
Yeah.
something that's so crazy like a prison, you need some
Yeah.
hierarchy,
Yeah.
otherwise.
Well,
There's a
in our
ma
house-
and there's a boss.
Yeah.
In our house, it's Sam.
Correct answer.
With our children.
It comes from me down.
Yeah,
Beautiful.
as is right and proper. Yes, there is a boss, there is a ma, it's got all the things.
Plenty in between.
Yeah. But we'll let you know who's boss later on when we come back to talk about the show.
Beautiful.
Good.
Will do.
It's all happening.
Well, thanks for coming in. It sounds like you've got many projects on the boil. I mean, that's good to see that
Always.
theatre is alive and well in the West.